Well, that's what happens historically when you can't fly the country.
Okay, kids, here we at it again. I think we're trying to steer the conversation to I don't know why it does that. Try and steer the conversation to something a little more, let's say, less inflammatory. Because for the record, that video is doing very well. So come on, attack me. Get those views up. I like that. Anyway, this should have happened. I got a USB port. It should have retarded. So it's doing weird thing. That should have taken. Here we go. Yeah. It generally reacts every time I do something, but it was like half an hour ago. I don't know what's going on. Oh, wait, let's finish doing its thing. One more. I think that should be it. Nope. This is when I was adjusting the light on here. So it should give up at some point. Oh, if only it was the actual TARDIS coming to take me away from this idiotic stuff. What the hell? Where's the damn switch? Okay, I think it's finally done. All right. So now that we've had enough of that stuff. Oh well, don't worry about it. We did a pretty good time last night, and hopefully, with them going nuts over that last video, the main video I did, and attaching that chat on that one will also pick up. But that's both of them are picking up pretty good. So apparently, I struck a nerve. Yeah, and that's struck. I think I have finally said all that needs to be said on that. Living rent free in her mind because she's blocking me everywhere else. On the one hand, she blocked me on the fans. Okay, well, fine, saving me $10 a month. Okay, all right. But again, I think hopefully, eventually, something will sink in to the pig-headed Irish brain of hers. When if it takes so long, but it's a question of is she going to go through the surgery before it finally sinks in that this is not working, that this whole boy thing is not right. Eventually, it's something is going to kick in. Is going to realize, okay, there might have been a mistake. And I'm hoping that wins out before she does something stupid and irreversible. Actually, had one of those comments. Why do you care, man? Why doesn't anybody else? Why does nobody else give a shit about what she's planning on doing? For God's sakes, we got an entire generation of people who just don't give a shit about other people. It's all part of the show. Yeah, no, this is a human life here. But anyway, I would like to steer this on some other topic though, because I figured that one's done. Okay, we pretty much wrung that one out, dry. So there was a discussion on I had a little run around on Twitter one time, but talking about fairly recently, again about whether or not the animated Star Trek series is canon. I think this was settled about God, almost 30 years, no, about 30 years ago, really. Back in the early 90s, when they finally, worked it out with Filmation, that Paramount got full ownership of the animated series. Because, part of the thing is, like, during the early days of Next Generation, the animated series, remember, it was not produced by Paramount. It was produced by Filmation. Excuse me. Paramount just distributed it. But in every other way, it was executive produced by Gene Roddenberry. Dorothy Fontana was a showrunner. Most of the writers had written for the original series. You had virtually the entire original cast back in the traditional parts. A lot of the stories were originally planned for a fourth season of the original series, but but so they got picked up again for the animated. It meets all, and it aired on NBC. Okay, it pretty much meets all the criteria for a canon show. It was set aside for legal reasons because, again, they had to argue, because under the situation as it was, if they made any references to anything that was purely from the animated show, Filmation was going to get a check. And Paramount has never wanted to spend money they don't want to have to spend. They have historically been the stingiest studio in Hollywood. In fact, for the longest time, they kept telling Roddenberry that, up until like the 80s, they were telling him that, the original series was still in the red, which boggles belief, and that's why he was suing them for a long time. It wasn't until Bill Shatner's lawyer joined in that they finally got Paramount to open up the books. Oh, what do you know? We are making a profit on this show. Sorry, here's your back royalties. Roddenberry said the real science fiction is in the accounting department of Paramount, which also tells me that Leonard Maizlis was not as good a lawyer as maybe Roddenberry thought he was, which also plays in the fact that Leonard Maizlis was also a horrible human being. Sorry, Rod. I know he's Uncle Leonard to you, but like everyone is. David Gerald was one. It was not coming like a second or third story in one of the Paramount buildings, and Maizlis was there against the window, and for a brief moment there, David Gerald had the idea that he could charge at the guy and just body check him through the window. He would, and a fat blob of a person, he would have died on the thing, and people would have pinned a medal on him for ridding the production and the planet of this cockroach. Yes, and Steph is here. Or was that honey for Eldorado? I mean, that you watch the chaos. I think actually I think really left already. Okay, but you watch the documentary "Chaos on the Bridge." I think it's on what? All right, it's for me. Okay, but it goes into the whole thing about just what a despicable human. He would go through people's desks at night. Dorothy Fontana caught him going through her desk. Is it Leonard? Can I help you with something? He would put story notes on scripts, claiming it was from Gene. No, and Dorothy Fontana used to be Gene's secretary. She knows what his handwriting looks like. I think I would recognize Gene writing. I've seen enough memos myself, with his notes on the sides. That's not Gene's writing. Okay. And that's also where a lot of the grief, because first season, the Next Gen had a lot of grievances filed by the Writers Guild. And a lot of it came from Maizlis sticking his nose in the story idea, the scripts. He's not a writer. He's not a member of the Writers Guild. He had no business doing that. And to show you how infuriating it is, Bob Justman was one of the most even-tempered guys around. Okay, you very take everything as it goes. He was one of the few people to really piss him off. Just get Bob Justman off the end. He said, apparently Gene, didn't want to deal with the casting. So he said so Mays is sitting there representing Gene in a casting meeting, fell asleep during an audition. That just hit every button, and just it's disrespectful to everyone around. It's disrespectful to the actor, and that is like you grabbed him by the crowd and physically took him off the lot. It's like, that's it, you're out of here. Don't let him back in. It's like, it took a lot to piss off Bob Justman. Okay. Yes, my caffeine supply has been restored. Thank you, Steph. But yeah, getting this back to the animated series. Yes, it was during this period again, and he told Gene Roddenberry had a habit of telling people what they felt he needed to tell them. Mainly, not so much they wanted to hear, but whatever would get him out of a discussion he didn't want to have. And he didn't want to discuss the fact that there was an aspect of Star Trek he did not fully control. And the animated series was one of those. He couldn't use full control over that thing because of the way it was produced. It was done by Filmation. They had a share in it. And so, until they got that straightened out, animated series was off limits. It was easier to tell his underlings, I've changed my mind on the show, just don't do anything with it. And basically let everyone else make their own conclusions on it. I wonder about Richard, because Richard Arnold was his hatchet man in that case. And I got a feeling Richard Arnold he had some very strange takes on things, on certain aspects. And I think one of them is he probably never liked the animated series to begin with. So naturally, he doesn't like it anymore. And he never told B. Joe Trimble he didn't like it. He never sent out a thing. Yeah, next time you do a concordance, leave that out. No, in fact, I got so many damn copies of the concordance around here. Yeah, I guess they're all out of reach at the moment. I can get this one here. Like during the development of Next Generation, he had one of these on his desk. All right. So while yes, Gene did not necessarily feel bound by canon, he did recognize that it wasn't a necessary component. They have a history. You got to be cognizant of it. I mean, he would get called on a lot of stuff. That went to his usual response was, allow me the consistency of my inconsistencies. But he never told, if you do another one of these, Bejo, leave out the anime. No, he never gave any indication that he did not like the animated series. He was anything other than proud of it. It's one of the things that showed there's still interest in this show that you assholes cancel. And the one I'm saying that if it wasn't for like the first movie doing what it did, followed by the second movie, there wouldn't be a franchise. The animated show was, I would argue that is really your first establishment at a franchise, because you had another production based on that thing, and then from there you get the movie, and then the next movie, eventually getting back on TV. All right, well, welcome. Okay, and Stephanie. Okay, yeah, in Star Trek 4, it was while I was actually working with Bejo to update the concordance, working on an update, which unfortunately is not going to happen because of the idiots in charge now. Might get to that later. But looking through some of the files, because I still got the disc somewhere, of cast names of whoever, and Jane Weedlam is in there twice. Different spellings, I-E or E-I. And I was wondering which one is right. But also notice name Tom Muston. And Tom Muston, around the local news anchor here in Denver. He's with Channel 4. I think he went to Channel 7 for a while, but now he's doing commercial stuff. But at the turns, and when I saw, I think I might have seen it and mentioned to Steph or Steph something. But immediately, okay, if this is the guy, I know the scene. It was in the elevators in the hospital, and the two doctors going back and forth about the fight they almost saw. The blonde Noah Wiley type, that is Tom. And once we, because okay, yeah, let's double check that. Grab the movie, queued up the scene. Yeah, because it's a very distinctive voice, kind of sizable schnoz, much longer hair than he was a up and coming actor at the time. And yep, that's him, the same voice. And we later contacted my emails. Yeah, I was in that. Leonard Nimoy saw him in a play and asked him if he wanted to be in a Star Trek movie. And apparently had some, Leonard, Bill Shatner stories. Like, I'd be interested to hear those, frankly, because most of the most of the people who don't deal with Shatner on a day-to-day basis usually, have very good story because he keeps a very lighthearted set, keeps it lively, and he does, give everyone their due. He knows what it's like to be, back in the course. Like, when Stephen Collins, when they're doing the motion picture, Shatner gave him little pointers, how to frame yourself, stand and frame yourself so that the camera is really focused on you and you draw the attention. And this was him to another actor. It's like, this is how you want to do it. You want to get their attention and try. This is how you got to stand this way and really get, because this is the visual medium. You got to give a good visual image. And there's other stuff like when they're doing Alana Troyes. John Delancey with My Little Pony. Okay, well, whatever. I don't. Whatever, if he got paid well, great. Oh, but Dick Durock was one of the Elysian guards in Alana Troyes. And he was really nervous about this because he actually had some lines. So when they're trying to, your entrance is barred to the, and he was, and Shatner sent it, the butterfly. Yeah, okay. You play football? Well, yeah, okay. That you're about to go on the field. Take it like that. And he would do stuff like that, But he would sometimes do rather extreme. Okay, I'll take your word for it since I have no interest in watching My Little Pony. Angelique Pettyjohn played Shauna in Games of Triskelion. She had a few good stories when she was the only one I've seen that showed up on stage and convention for her first day in costume. She had the whole Triskelion, the wig and the collar and everything, and did a little dance routine with the thing, and then sat down, and did a little Q&A thing, and told about her experience and getting cast on the show. And she'd done some B stuff by that point. And she was a little concerned when she saw the character description in the script as a green-haired, Amazon. It's like, well, yeah, she's like 5'6", and I know the hair you can do the green, but Amazon, and then the producer kind of laughed her. Trust me, honey, next to Shatner, you'll be an Amazon. Okay. Okay, well, that was a little alarming. But okay, got the gig. And so first day rehearsal, and the stunt coordinator, who also played the Andorian, the Andorian who fought Kirk and thing, said, okay, we'll get, they're all there in their sweats and they're sneaking. Okay, we'll get started as soon as Bill Shatner shows up. And so they're milling around, and she, after a while, she goes over to the craft service table, catering, donuts. And there's this guy there, kind of balding. Okay, and you have the Thornburn stuff. Got receding hairline, short guy. And he's in a t-shirt and sweat, or sweatshirt and sweatpants and sneakers. And she kind of, get up to the table. Yeah, when does Shatner guy gonna show up? And he turns to her, honey, I am Bill Shatner. And she, huh? because I don't think it was like bald, but it was thinning. It was noticeably thinning. Like if you look at in the Deadly Years, when he started to show the age, I think when the just really starting to age him up, I think that was his natural hair at the time. It's kind of like Malachi Throne at the time. It was just like it was very, very thin. It was going. Okay, unfortunately, everyone's left now. All right. For the sake of continuity, I'm going to finish that little story. I have to go back and edit out the dead space there. Cable took a dump for some strange reason. Okay, well, Angelique Pettyjohn, first meeting Shatner. Back then, he was a little less uptight about, letting people know he wore a tube. But, but he still had some hair up top. But, okay, go to the rehearsal. First day in the set. First scene they're going to shoot is in his quarter, in his cell on the thing, when he's bare chested with the harness and the thing, and that thing where he kisses her and then knocks her out. Well, they have a little. It's deep. They're he's wanting to rehearse the scene a little bit first. Make sure they got it down so when they get ready to shoot, they can get to it and get going. And she's still very much yes, Mr. Shatner, and get little in the Star Trek because he's there. He's getting all the he's got the tube. He's looking at them. He's got the lifts and the boots and that. And it's like no, she's still got this. She's with because Shatner was a big name at the time, a fairly big name at the time, an up and comer. And okay, so they rehearsing the scene, and it's kind of like it's not working. We ain't got time for this. So the way she described it and talking about next thing you know, it's like round up against her, lung down her throat, one hand on her tit, one hand on her ass, up against the wall, grinding away. It's like, and then break loose, and she starts like, what the fuck? Who do you think? I'm a married woman. You son of a, you think you're a big target? You push them. And Shatner's sitting, leaning against the table, laughing his ass off. And they're like, okay, now that we know each other a little better, will you please call me Bill? She recognized him at what he was doing. Oh, you son of a bitch. Like, they don't have time for her to get used to him. As they're going to shoot this thing. They're going to shoot this thing now. They ain't got time for this thing. You got to break down this barrier and get the camera sheet going because we got a busy day ahead of us. And she learned a very valuable lesson. I think it's like, get over your Star Trek thing. You got a job to do here. And she's always appreciated that and respected him greatly for that. Sadly, she did die. So for lung cancer. She did smoke, and in fact, you warned everyone on station about the light up a cigarette. No pictures. I don't want this getting out. So take a quick one. Well, I don't have them memorized like you do, Steph. Okay, because I've no interest in watching the Thornbirds in the first damn place. Yeah, because you told me over and over again. That's what. What, Philip Anglum? Cat's Paw. She was Sylvia. Yeah. Whatever. When she mentions the name, yeah, I can pick out what they were in the Star Trek. But anyway. Okay. Admiral Satie. That was Gene Simmons. Yeah. Did the thing with the Thornbirds. Richard Kiley. Well, they did a guest spot on DS9, I believe. kind of eccentric scientist type thing doing them. Let's see. Yeah, Philip Anglum. Should I just pull up the list here myself? Okay. Let's pull up IMDb here. All right. Thornbirds. And she's going to run this topic into the dirt until they get through. Okay, and of course, later. So Christopher Plummer, John Delancey. I don't think Barry Corbin showed up in Star Trek itself, but he did show up in a Captain April fan film as April's father. And let's see, there's Gene Simmons and Philip Anglum. Earl Holliman, he was the cookie in Forbidden Planet. I can answer anything to the entire cast here. And let's see here. I'm trying to think, did Mary Winningham show up? Let me look at Richard Kiley here. What the? I'm thinking Ben Casey, but no, he didn't actually play. I think he showed up in an episode of Ben Casey. So I don't count. But he was, There's Antoinette Bauer, and Sylvia from Catspaw. Meg Wiley, keeper in The Cage. A bit peripheral, Rance Howard, the father of Ronnie Howard and Clint Howard. And Rance was on set at the time of filming of the Corbomite maneuver. And he's the one who got Clint to drink the, I think it was pink grapefruit juice or something, whatever it was that he was. Clint didn't like it. Can we, he asked me, can we at least put some 7-Up or something in this? And the dad's going to drink the damn drink and act like you like it. And show what a pro Clint Howard was at the age of 4. I thought, he drank that Chanya. He hated that stuff. It's like, make sure you sell it, or you're going to have to do this over and over again until you do. Okay. We're down to 1. Okay. What producer with Thornbird? Oh, yeah. Okay, the story goes, this is according to Bill Shatner in Star Trek Memories. I don't know how accurate the story is, but this is what he heard. This is back when Roddenberry was still a cop and trying to get going as a writer. There, there was this bar in Hollywood where all the agents hung out. All the big name agents come out. And Roddenberry, with when he was a motorcycle cop, kind of rides his motorcycle through the door into the little foyer area. And here, Roddenberry was not a small man. People, there was a big bear type. He was a big guy. Now you take that big guy and you add in the leather jacket, the boots and everything, and the helmet and the mirrored sunglasses. And he could have a very big booming voice when he could really set his mind to it. He was usually very soft spoken, but something about guys who are described as kind of big teddy bears. Teddy bear can turn to a grizzly like that, and he there's accounts of him yelling. You can hear him down the hallway. But so Picture this, and this is a very young and fit Roddenberry at the time. Back probably in his, probably in the 30s. Boom, motorcycle sitting there by the maitre d's, counter, and this big hulking guy, Swifty Lazar. Swifty Lazar were the top agents in Hollywood history. Which is kind of it's a scrawny little bald-headed, big glasses thing, but but it's like big time writers, agent. And it's like the Red Sea kind of parts, and there's Swifty Lazar standing there and going through his mind, what did I do? Running through his mind, what am I about to nail for? And the big off, yes, it's like, you better read this. Plops a big old manila envelope on it, stomps back to his motorcycle, backs out and drives off. And once everyone, open the envelope, find what is it? What is it? It is it's a spec script. They just got played. Who is that guy? I don't know who that son of a bitch is, but he's going to get red after that stunt. Again, was it true or was it some tall tale? Whatever, Anyway, we are down again to only Stephanie. What's that? Oh, yeah, we're talking Hollywood in like probably early 50s still. Now, I don't think Swifty took him on as an agent. I don't think he was ever his agent, but that's a story to get around. Oh, you're the one who scared the shit out of Swifty Lazar. Okay. Now imagine a word like that will get around. But in other news, the budget bill, the spending bill has passed. I don't like it. There's things I wish they could. Hopefully, some of the amendments that have come out since then got tacked on there to trim the wings a bit of that one. But it's like, we'll see. And apparently, this is only the first one. There's more bills to come. This isn't the end of the game by any stretch, man. So let's not panic. But anyway, okay. We're going to keep going with the behind-the-scenes stories and tall tales, I guess. Because I guess we can, relate the various tales regarding Leonard Nimoy's bicycle. Leonard felt the need to, because his makeup demands were a little more intense because he had the ears and everything else. Well, let's get to that because again, it's like, part of Shatner's keeping everything up is keeping a light set and keeping everyone because this is going to be a pain in the ass show to do. You got to keep the spirits up, keep everyone happy, happy so they can get stuff done. So he really he was the lead. There's the reason why you pick these people to be the leads of these shows. They can kind of in charge. So he really did take on the leadership role in that respect, and he tried to keep things up and playing jokes and stuff and keeping breaking things up every once in a while. The producers went nuts on that thing because you're wasting time, money, but you got to keep it loose, or you're not going to get anything done. They'll start snapping and throwing things at each other. But Nimoy, because they had very little time, but with the lunch break, to go down to the commissary, get lunch, get back to work. And again, Nimoy had the extra issue because the makeup touch-ups. So he got himself a bicycle. So while everyone else is running down the street, he hops the bicycle. Boom. They get down there. He's already sitting there eating his lunch with a stupid, grin on his face, and there's ready. You son of a. And they have to scarf down whatever they got and run their ass back. Meanwhile, Nimoy on his bike. Boop, he's already there, ready to go, nice and fresh, and okay. So nobody appreciated Nimoy and his bicycle. Okay. So Shatner turned upon himself to try and just tweak him a little bit here and there. Like, Nimoy's bike could be, parked outside the thing. And of course, the rationale is like, hey, that's Leonard's bicycle. We should secure that somewhere before someone steals it. And he'd lock it in his trailer. And it should be noted that Shatner would take his Doberman pincher Morgan to the set, and he would stay in the trailer. And they had the old radial trailers that they at their dressing rooms. And nobody, this is a Doberman pincher. They're very territorial. Okay, and something that Joan Winston found out when the last week of show, Morgan was there, and she was sent to the Bill's trailer to get something, and she met Morgan the hard way, where she but to open the door and she, something shot back and ricocheted off the trailer right behind her. But there's a thing where it's like she would or the back to Nimoy's bike. Okay, well then he then one time put it in the Shatner put it in the trunk of his car. Of course, no one telling Nimoy that Shatner's put your bike in the back of his car. It's like, where's my bike? Oh, I don't know. Shatner. They were not buddy on set at that time. Okay, they became like brothers after the show were at, but at the time there was a sibling rivalry going on there. So, or the time where it's sitting there on it, and it's like, and Shatner gets a big old chain and a padlock, and we should secure this thing. Of course, never give Nimoy the key. It's like, I can't get to my bike. Eventually got to the point where Nimoy is taking the bicycle onto the set, putting it right next to the set where you can keep an eye on it. He's tired of people fucking around with his bicycle. And so this wasn't Shatner this time. This was the entire cast and crew in on this one. Where the second his back was turned, ropes came down for the catwalk, guys, and it was gone up in 2 seconds, up on the catwalk. And so, and Nimoy turns right. Where the hell's my bike? You had a bike? God damn it, where the hell's my bike? We didn't see any bike. I don't see anybody. Grabs a broom and starts ready to swing. It's like, somebody give me back my damn bike. And he misses the bike over his head by just a couple feet. At which point a voice comes out from the right there, getting warmer. It takes a couple seconds. Nope, you're getting colder. Looks up. Sees the bike hanging for the rest and starts, and to his credit, busts up laughing. And then, at that point, I think he realized he was being an asshole with the bike. Okay, it's time to lay off. So, but that's the kind of set they had. It's not, but buying to George, to George Takei's latter day, revision of Shatner being an asshole. At the time, no, it might irritate them a bit, but also back then they realized they're day players, okay? George Takei is there maybe 1 or 2 days most times, if he's even in the episode at all. Go back at IMDb and look at how many episodes they were actually in. You'd be shocked to notice that Uhura, Sulu, Chekhov's obviously missed the entire first season, but Eddie Paskey played Lieutenant Leslie and various other extras in the background of the planets of different people. He was in more episodes than George Takei. So back, they realized they were day players. They were not main cast. And I think I kind of go with Shatner's thing. It was partially the conventions where you had fans going, "Oh, Sulu is my favorite character," or "Horror, my man." And yeah, I was really the star of that show. Fuck Shatner. And at one point, it's like where Shatner just had to pretty much, it's like in 2016, it was one of the Vegas conventions, where we finally figured, okay, I have held my tongue long enough. That this man has besmirched my reputation. I have always prided myself on being a professional actor. I come to work knowing my lines, knowing what I want to do this, and this man is, enough. It's like, trying to set the record straight. And said, I don't know George Takei. I would come to the set. He's there maybe a couple of days when the scene's on the bridge. It's like, hi George, and then you do a thing. He's maybe there next week, maybe not. Again, look at go back in the show. How many times it was somebody else at the helm? No Sulu, and nobody asking about Sulu. People asked about referenced Scotty a few times. He was not, and Scotty was not in the episode. Most notably, I think of This Side of Paradise and Journey to Babel. Scotty is specifically cited. He's not in the episode. Yeah. You don't get that with Sulu. He's not there. He's not there. He's not mentioned. He's one of several helmsmen. And also, people tend to forget, these people did other acting jobs besides Star Trek. If you're not a regular, you're not there that week. Okay, yeah, you do a guest spot. Like Nichelle Nichols did a couple of spots. You got spots on Tarzan at the time. She had 2 episodes as an African queen, tribal queen type of character. And Jimmy Doohan was doing. They do an occasional Western here and there. They had other jobs. They did other things while Star Trek is on the air. They're not there that week. Yeah, I can do I can do an episode of Bonanza. So that's the thing. We tend pigeonhole them as they were they were more than just Star Trek. I think George Takei did an episode of a couple episodes of Courtship of Eddie's Father. Like these people were busy. They weren't just sitting around waiting for the Star Trek phone. They were agents. Caught me okay. Nothing for me this week on Star Trek. What else I got? I mean, those roles were prominent, because they had recurring parts. But occasionally, it's like Doomsday Machine. It's not Uhura. It's the thing. It's Lieutenant Palmer. I think she got a couple of episodes out of that. That's actually when Star Trek Continues kicked off and put an extra tag onto the end of Turnabout Intruder. Suddenly, Uhura is on the bridge. Nichelle Nichols was not in that episode. It was Barbara Baldwin. That was her like Angela and a couple of them at one. But she gets called Lisa in that one. But it's Janice Lester. She probably doesn't know the entire crew roster at this point. So that may have been a warning saying, hey, maybe Spock is right. It's not really Kirk. But that's the thing. You get, you put it all in context there that, these people were not solely on Star Trek. They did other things. There were other shows on the air besides Star Trek, folks. I mean, it's like, I should, check, find some air schedules there. It's like, when Nichelle Nichols did those 2 episodes of Tarzan was because that was the lead-in. That was Star Trek's lead-in on NBC. It's like, did she also show up in the episode of Star Trek? Hey, there she is again. That's one of the things I like doing and digging in the history and then getting the stuff around the show, not just the show itself. That's one thing we tend to, get into these little rabbit holes of everything about the show. Okay. Let's also look at what else was going on in the world of television, what they were, what show they were airing against. Because Beverly Hillbillies, Gomer Pyle, Bewitched, was constant fighting back and forth between those shows. And also, facttrek.com is a real good site for this. They're doing a lot. They've got, because one thing, they've done a real good job at debunking the whole death slot, Friday night death slot idea. Because, and it's in the making of Star Trek where they call it, where Roddenberry calls it that. It's like, oh, that's it, we're dead. Because of conventional theories, our audience is out on dates during Friday nights. They're not going to be home watching Star Trek. Actually, a lot of them did go because they're dating fellow geeks. So that's a good time for these guys to sit down and watch Star Trek, and then they'll do stuff later. But actually, it's like if Roddenberry had gotten his way and gotten the Monday night slot, early Monday night, That would have been a kamikaze slot because you're going up against Gunsmoke, uh, the Lucy Show, and that's very big, heavy hitters on Monday nights that are actually appealing to your same audience demographic. And yes, they did pay attention to demographics in before 1970. It wasn't as big because I think up to that point they were still thinking the majority of the spending is done by housewives. So that's where but they were aware of demographics. They even, and they did use them to an extent. And also, precedent, indicated, look, the Man from U.N.C.L.E., around their second season, they put him in that Friday Nights in 10, and the show did spectacularly. And they had the same audience demographic as Star Trek goes. So in a way, they weren't trying to kill the show. They were trying to find a slot where they were constantly trying to find where the show is going to be a hit. We're putting a lot of money into this show. We want it to be a hit, for God. We don't understand what the hell he's doing over there, but a lot of people seem to like it. It's getting moderately decent ratings. It wasn't a ratings disaster. It was marginal, but it wasn't good enough to justify the cost. Because it was an incredibly expensive show. There were more expensive shows on the air. It wasn't the most expensive, but it wasn't It wasn't good enough ratings to justify the expense. Let's put it that way. Mannix cost a little more, but that one did much better in the ratings. And a couple other shows were actually as expensive or more expensive, but they did better. So you can justify spending that much money because they're getting a better return on their buck. And even that, it's like most shows are produced at a deficit anyway. They expect to get their big what? What? Oh, jeez. Can you wait a little bit here? Come on. Yeah. But it's like, yeah, oh, God. Well, we're coming up on an hour anyway, so I think we're just going to wrap it up here. But like I said, it wasn't the ratings. It wasn't, but also other people saying it was actually a rating success. Well, it wasn't really a success either. It was okay. But when you're spending the 1960s equivalent of $1 million an episode, you need to do better than okay. And again, almost every TV show was made at that time was made at a deficit. They're spending the money because they're all set up, and it's in the red for almost most of its production life. Because unless they're running for like 20 some years, where okay, the sets were paid for 2 years ago. They expect them. At that time, they made your money back in syndication, and generally the minimum mark for that was to get 100 episodes. Some shows like Star Trek had a big following. You could get away with like 79 episodes. And actually, that deal got signed at the end of the second season. That's when Paramount took over from Disney. It was like halfway through the second season when it became Paramount production. And they struck the deal with Kaiser before they wrapped. Because so they already knew they were going to sell this into syndication to these guys. And she's squawking, so I better wrap this up here. So let me get this thing back up because when the cable went down, I lost my setup here. So we will. But yeah, if we want to do more of these little background stories and stuff and what things were like in the day. And hold on, we're just gonna be a little bit of a noise here while I get this. Not God damn it, get back there. Let it. Hey, hold on. Stop it. Stop it. Okay, back to this. Okay. So if we can, I don't know, maybe next time doing a little more of these background stories here. So maybe something to ramble about other than wayward porn stars that I'm concerned about their well-being. Because I think I've wrung that one out. And I've made my case on that. And what happens beyond that is out of my control, always was. But at least I've made my statement. Eventually, I think sanity will eventually rear its ugly head, and hopefully it'll happen before anything permanent and stupid happens. But with that, I think we'll go and wrap up here. An hour's a good time. And we will talk at you later.